Sound rolling.
Camera 1,
Rolling.
camera 2, rolling.
My name is Virginia Garrard. I go by Jenny. I'm newly Emeritus Professor of History at University of Texas, Austin, former Joe C. Long Professor of Latin American Studies, and former Director of the Teresa Lozano Long Latin American Studies program and Benson Latin American Collection at University of Texas. My current research is it has always been about Central American history and religion in Latin America. I was interested in Latin American studies from having studied in Mexico during undergraduate. So I looked at two programs because I thought they were the best. One was Tulane and the other is University of Texas at Austin. And I received my acceptance letters, which were letters in those days, on the same day. And so I visited both schools and decided that Tulane was absolutely the place for me. I came here in 1979. And I finished my PhD in 1986. Although it wasn't a constant stay in New Orleans, I spent much of that time in Guatemala. The Stone Center. It has impacted every aspect of what I do professionally, every single aspect. I originally wanted to study Mexico when I came to the center, but to come here in 1979 to the foremost center of Central American studies, probably in the world, was very propitious because, of course, 1979 is when the Sandinistas took over, and it was the beginning of what they called in the United States the Central American crisis. But of course, there was much more going on than that in Central America. And so I couldn't possibly have been in a better place to study Central America. And I was in the Latin American Studies program for my master's, and then I got my PhD in history. Latin American history, but all my classes had to do with Central America. And so the person I ended up working with and has been a huge influence in my life is Ralph Lee Woodward Jr., who was the Central American historian. He was an intellectual giant, someone who took an interest in me and helped me to be my best self as a scholar. We stayed in touch for the rest of his life. He passed away in June of 2022. Nobody has had a bigger effect on my career than he did. Victoria Bricker, even though she's outside of my field, she was an enormous influence in a number of ways, partly because she's a meticulous scholar, but also because she's a woman. And when I got here, there were two women that I was in contact with in the program. Victoria was one, and Trudy Yeager was the other. And Trudy was fearsome. I don't think she'd mind me saying that at all. It was not easy to be a woman in the field, and they were role models extraordinaire. One of my premier standout memories is completely outside of the classroom. I came here in August of 1979. And at the end of that month, I had met two friends. None of us had any idea what we were doing, but we went to see a film that had just come up from Nicaragua about the literacy campaign. And it was the first time I thought, this is not just an intellectual exercise. This is not just about going to more school. I knew I was good at going to school, but I didn't know that there could be a broader application to intellectual projects. I'll never forget that. The one word I would use to describe the Stone Center is consistency. The Stone Center has realized what its areas of strength are and has continued to build those and put resources behind those and to assure their excellence over many years. And having worked for universities a long time, I see that that's not always the case. In fact, it's usually not the case. And I think that that is probably one of the reasons why the centennial is so important.